This is Muhammad Hamouda speaking. Today we are going to talk about translation of metaphors. But before this, last lecture we have talked about the translation of proverbs and idioms, and we differentiated between proverbs and idioms. Who can remind me with the differences between the two? Okay, actually, proverbs and idioms are similar a lot. Both of them are fixed terms, uh, indirect mean. Most of the time, they hold indirect meanings. They are not literal, but they are fixed and unchangeable terms. But عفواً. But the difference between them that idioms usually come as part of sentences, while proverbs come as uh, full sentences, complete sentences. Okay, and this is the difference between them. For example, uh, if I say not all that glitters is gold, ليس كل ما يلمع ذهبا. We notice this expression, unchangeable expression, and also it is a full sentence, so it is a proverb. But if we say, for example, anything that can come as part of a sentence, such as no to talk about this. For example, if we say stand aside or the plane takes off at 9 o'clock. As you see, take off is a part of the sentence. It is fixed. It is indirect meaning. It holds an indirect meaning as تقلع الطائرة. So it is an idiom. Okay, we have studied and discussed these two issues in translation or in English and Arabic translation. Today, let us continue at the semantic level or the semantic differences between English and Arabic. Okay, translation of metaphors. What is the meaning of metaphor? Who can tell me the differences? Who can tell me what is meant by metaphor? Actually, metaphor is a metaphorical speech from its meaning or from its structure, metaphorical language, indirect and non-literal language. So if we have, so it stands against the direct literal meaning. So we have two level of meanings. Literal meaning, which is the direct meaning and the dictionary meaning. Also we have an indirect, non-literal, metaphorical meaning, which is not in, which can't be understood can't be understood by the dictionary meaning, but by the context. We can understand the meaning or the intended meaning of the sentence relying on the context. Metaphor is the second level of language, which is non-literal, indirect, metaphorical meaning. Okay, look at this two examples. He is cunning, he is a fox. If we look to the first example, he is cunning هو ماكر. Cunning is معناها dictionary. From the dictionary meaning, it is ماكر. He هو. وبالتالي هنا literal meaning. It is indirect. It is direct meaning, literal meaning. Okay, if we look at the sentence number two, he is a fox. As you see, مستحيل يعني impossible someone who can breathe, who can speak, who can think. يعني شخص بامتياز يتكلم ويسمع ويفكر مستحيل إنه يكون ثعلب بالمعنى الحرفي كأنيمال as an animal a fox as an animal. No, he is an human, he is human by the way. So this is indirect meaning. أنا مش المقصود منه إنه هو حيوان ثعلب، إنه هو ثعلب كحيوان، لا، المقصود فيه إنه أنا عندي حاجتين: شخص اللي هو هي، وعندي animal fox بتشاركوا بصفة اللي هي الكونينج اللي هي المكر، وبالتالي هذه indirect meaning. So it is so as you see metaphor means creating uh, a relationship of resemblance، يعني creating a relationship of resemblance between two things or two uh, between two things or two people. Okay, as in this sentence we create with a resemblance between he and between a fox in terms that both of them are cunning، الاثنين منهم ماكرين. فأنا هنا خلقت نوع من التشابه بين حاجتين اللي هما الشخص هي والأنيمال اللي هو الفوكس، وبالتالي هنا it is a metaphor. So metaphor means creating some sort or creating some sort of resemblance between two things or two persons. Okay, so we can differentiate between, based on these two sentences, we can differentiate between direct language and figurative or indirect language. He is cunning, هو ماكر. As you see, it is open and clear and ordinary, straightforward، واضحة تماما، crystal clear. It is, but this sentence is little interesting. While if you look to the second sentence, he is a fox. It is unclear. ما هي مش واضحة تماما، ولكن أنا من ناحية السياق فهمت إنه هي هو والثعلب بيشتركوا بصفة، وبالتالي فهذه unclear. Indirect preferable usually preferable better and more beautiful than the direct language. Also, it is much interesting. It makes you think creatively about the resemblance thing or the thing that they share in common. Okay. Um, Actually, figurative language generally, we have several types of figurative language: simile, metaphor, pun, metonymy, personification, irony, wordplay, and other things. But in this chapter, we are going to refer to all figurative speech or all figurative language as metaphors, okay? Because most of the time they include metaphorical expressions. The difference between simile and metaphor is that simile التشبيه يتضمن أداة تشبيه: محمد كالأسد، وبالتالي هنا الكاف أداة تشبيه، فهذه بعتبرها سيميلي. ولكن محمد أسد هنا metaphor. Why? Because yeah, we create some sort of resemblance between two things, and in simile also we create some sort of resemblance, but the difference between them the absence of resemblance particle. فقط أداة التشبيه موجودة بتكون simile، مش موجودة بتكون metaphor. So it is very very simple, the differences between simile and metaphor. Okay, now before talking about the translation of metaphor, we want to highlight the components of metaphor. Actually, we have four main components of metaphor: image, object, sense, and metaphor. Image المشبه به. It is the source of metaphor. As you see, we have this metaphor, sunny smile. المشبه به اللي هو sunny، صح ولا لا؟ اللي هو sun، الشمس، جاية من كلمة sunny. طيب object اللي هو المشبه، اللي هو السمايل، a person، الشخص اللي بيبتسم. sense وجه التشبيه، اللي هو الحاجة المشتركة بين الاثنين، السمايل والشمس، sun وسمايل. It is brilliance and shining. So the shining is, if you smile, your face will be shining. Also, the sun is shining. So the resemblance between the two, sun and the smile, is shining. The sense اللي هو وجه التشبيه. It is the shared thing between the two, between the image and between the object, between the image and object. Okay, metaphor, it is the figurative word used in the expression. Sunny smile, it is the figurative word is sunny. Okay, so we have four main components of metaphor. So now, can you give me an expression which includes metaphor and identify the four components of this metaphor؟ يعني أعطيني مثال موجود فيها ميتافور، وحدد لي العناصر الأربعة في هذه الميتافور اللي أعطتني إياها. وهو can solve this question. So this is homework with you. Now we are going to talk about types of metaphor. We have different types of metaphor, as Newmark explains and identifies seven types of metaphor. The first one is dead metaphors، يعني استعارات ميتة. مقصود فيها ميتة from its name، ميتة. كيف ميتة إذن؟ It is ordinary. It is used in everyday speech to the degree that we are no longer see it as a metaphor or feel it as a metaphor. يعني من كثر الاستخدام اليومي لهذه الميتافور، أصبحنا فقط قيمة الميتافور وأصبحنا لا نشعر إنها ميتافور. يعني because dead metaphor, this expression is used in everyday speech, ordinary, in casual speech, to, to the degree it's lost its metaphorical meaning and its metaphorical value. For example, field of knowledge، حقل المعرفة. foot of the page، ذيل الصفحة. look at the foot of the page، مستحيل صفحة يكون إلها قدم. وبالتالي هذا expression it is a metaphor, but because this expression is used in everyday speech, it is no longer perceived to be as a metaphor. Okay, chain of mountains، سلسلة جبال. series of events، مسلسل أحداث. and all of these examples. To kill time, no one can hold a gun and kill or shoot the time. No, it is a metaphorical speech, but because we are using this expression daily and in everyday speech a lot, this the metaphorical value is lost. Okay, this is the first type of metaphor. The second type of metaphors are glitch metaphors، استعارات مبتذلة. Actually, these metaphors are similar to the previous one. Are so these glitch metaphor and Did metaphor are so similar a lot. They are similar a lot, but the difference between them is glitch metaphor is more informal. أقل فيها درجة informality أكبر من الديد metaphor. Personally, for me, actually, as as a lecturer of this course, I see that these two types can be regarded as one type and that's enough. يعني ما في داعي نفصل الكليتش ميتافور والديد ميتافور، كل واحدة فيهم نوع، بكفي نعتمدهم كنوع واحد فقط. Why? Because they are so similar، لأنهم متشابهين كتير. الاختلاف بينهم بسيط جدا، إنه الكليتش فيها informality بدرجة أكبر من الديد ميتافور، وبالتالي أنا بعتبرهم كنوع واحد and that's enough. Okay. As head over heel in love، من رأسه حتى أخمص قدميه. To fish in troubled waters، يصطاد في الماء العكر. Okay. Actually, these two expressions or these two types of metaphor, clutch metaphor and dead metaphor, usually have equivalent items in Arabic, and these two types usually translators do not face a lot of difficulties in rendering these two types. Why? Because they are ordinary and used a lot. Also, they they have equivalent items in Arabic. So now, reaching the third type of metaphor, the standard metaphor، الاستعارات المعيارية. standard يعني رسمية، وبالتالي هذه بنستخدمها وين؟ نستخدمها في الفورمال لانجويج، من اسمها ستاندرد معيارية رسمية، نستخدمها في الفورمال language usually. Okay, and these or this type of metaphor is the most established metaphors in language, such as throw light on، يسلط الضوء على دايما هذه في الacademic research. Whenever we write a journal, an article for a journal, we use this expression throw light on. Okay, we say, for example, this article throw this this article throws some lights on the following 3 points: one, two, three, for example. Okay, so it is used in standard language most of the time. It is used for formal speech. Okay, for if you like to the eighth example or example number 8, if you can't beat them, join them. دائما نقول دراهم ما دمت في دارهم، إن لم تغلب فاخلب. اليد التي لا تستطيع أن تعضها قبلها ودع عليها بالكسر. أوكي. vicious circle، حلقة مفرغة، هذه دائما احنا بنستخدمها especially في discussions meetings negotiations. Most of the time we use this expression vicious circle. Okay. Now, adopted metaphor، الاستعارات المقتبسة. Now, المقتبسة طبعا هذه أي استعارة أنا مقتبسها من الأدب، من القرآن، من الحديث، من لغة تانية. أي استعارة مقتبسة مباشرة it is a an adopted metaphor. Okay, so this type of metaphor is originally or these metaphors are originally taken from other languages or are taken from uh, literature, poetry, Holy Quran, Hadith, and so on. Okay, look at these examples. A massacre of goals، مجزرة أهداف. هذا إحنا الإكسبريشن هذا إحنا استعرناه من اللغة الإنجليزية، وبالتالي الاستعارة هذه بنسميها استعارة مقتبسة quoted metaphor. أوكي، to sow division between them، يزرع الشقاق بينهم أو يبث الفرقة بينهم and so on. Now, cultural metaphor. Any metaphor that holds a cultural expression or a cultural reference, it is a cultural metaphor. For example, to knock for six يبهر ويذهل أو يذهل. هذه أنا he stirs his stumps، يجري الدم في عروقه أو تدب الحيوية، ينشط فيه. All of these metaphors, the five metaphors as you see, are taken from the British game of cricket, are taken from a British game which is cricket. Uh, Actually, cricket as a sport is part of the British culture and it is widely played in England while it is unknown in Arabic area. So these expressions uh, which are bound to cricket sport are cultural or are British cultural examples or cultural metaphors. Okay, recent metaphor. Recent metaphor. استعارات حديثة. Recent metaphor refers to newly coined metaphors. These metaphors are established newly. They reflect the creativity of the person or of the speaker because who invents these metaphors and creates them. For example, a womanizer. This is a new metaphor, a new invented metaphor means zero نساء. head hunting، تصفية الخصوم السياسيين. وبالتالي هذه political speech. It is used in political speech. It is a new metaphor, a new coined metaphor which is used in political speeches. Okay, the seventh type of metaphor is original metaphors. استعارات أصلية. المقصود في الأصلية اللي هي unexpected metaphors، يعني metaphors unexpected, the easiest to okay, so metaphors are not only newly created for the first time and not heard of before but also surprising. يعني هدول أول مرة إحنا نستخدمهم، ما واحد استخدمها قبل هيك، وبالتالي هذه بنسميها original metaphor. For example, the fire green as grace، نار خضراء كالعشب. طيب، هنا the fire green، النار دائما بتكون حمراء red، ما بتكون green خضراء، بالتالي it is astonishing، بتثير الإعجاب وبتثير الدهشة. أوكي، now okay, now how can we differentiate between these seven types or six types of metaphors؟ كيف أنا بدي أفرق بين هذه؟ يعني عندي ميتافور، كيف بدي أفرق نوعها؟ كيف بدي أميز نوعها؟ سهل جدا وباختصار شديد. أنا بميز نوعها عندي كرايتيريا. أول وحدة اللي هي بتحكي لي If it is informal and it is used in everyday speech, it is dead or glitch metaphor. You immediately. The second thing, if it includes part of your body or time or environment, usually did metaphor. If it is borrowed from or quoted from other language or from literature or Quran, it is or hadith, it is quoted metaphor. If it includes a cultural reference, it is a cultural metaphor. If it is a newly coined, it is recent metaphor. If it is unexpected and astonishing, it is original metaphor. This is the easiest way to figure out their meanings. Okay, now how can we render metaphors or translate metaphors? Or in another way, what are the strategies that can be used to render metaphorical expressions? Okay, the first strategy is uh, Arabic equivalences. We can look at an Arabic equivalent item or an Arabic equivalent metaphor for the English metaphor. For example, foot of the page مباشرة ذيل الصفحة. أنا في العربي ما بحكي قدم الصفحة، بحكي ذيل الصفحة، وبالتالي عندي أنا هنا expression or metaphorical equivalent item. Okay, the second strategy is that sometimes we have several alternative metaphors that are equivalent to the original one. We can pick one of them because all of them are correct. For example, he is a fox. We can ثعلب وداهية وحية من تحت تبن وفلتة زمانه. All of these expressions or all of these metaphors are equivalent to he is a fox. وبالتالي بختار أي واحدة منهم حتكون صحيحة. Okay, now if we are unable to find an equivalent metaphor, we render them, we render the metaphor, but we take into consideration the sense. We should reflect and maintain the metaphorical sense of the sentence or of the metaphor. Okay, such as a window of opportunity. فأنا المetaphorical sense اللي هو سانحة أو كبيرة، فرصة سانحة أو فرصة كبيرة. Actually, this is the end of this lecture. I hope you get a lot of benefits. Thank you very much, but I want to remind you that you should not forget to answer my question that write a metaphor and determine its components and determine its type. Thank you very much for your listening.